So a couple of years ago, my client invited me to their event at Webster Hall. And when I got there, they invited me backstage. And on stage, there were some incredible acts. There were someone juggling chainsaws, and there was a motorcyclist, who was also a flamethrower. There was a knife thrower. And while, a lot of people were watching the stage, I was just fixed on the faces of the audience. Have you ever been backstage and just looked at the audience? I was obsessed. I just, in that moment, couldn't believe what I was watching. The awe on their face, their looks of surprise, kind of their brains were exploding, and you could just see it in their eyes. And it was at that moment, I just knew what I was going to do with my life. Some people create music, some people create movies, some people create fashion. I wanted to create events. I wanted to create experiences. I wanted to get people to feel that surprise that I saw on their face. So the first thing I did was I started reading up on surprise, trying to understand it. Serendipitously, I had met someone who's self-defined as a surpriseologist. This is somebody who studies surprise for their profession. Her name is Tanya Luna. She is an absolute genius. If you haven't checked out her TED Talk, you gotta go do it right now. And she taught me a couple things. What Tanya taught me was that a surprise is like a mini fight or flight moment in our brains. It's kind of like, many people are living a life of the same old, same old. We do A, we get B, cause and effect, kind of an autopilot experience. And when we experience a surprise, when we have a set of expectations and we get something else, our brain doesn't really know what to do with it. As opposed to looking forward to the future plans or looking at the past to memories, what am I doing this weekend? What did I eat for lunch, right? What did my coworker tell me? As opposed to that, a surprise kind of stops us in our tracks and makes us focus on the right now. And that is a very powerful experience. Now, I just read in Inc. that a surprise can actually deliver 4 times the level of serotonin when it does this now moment. The way that Tanya describes it is pretty interesting. The way she describes it, she taught me that a surprise is like an moment. So if something is happy, but it comes with a surprise, it's going to be happier. Or if something is really sad, but you're surprised by it, that's sadder. If something makes you really proud, but you get surprised by this, you're going to feel prouder. Whatever emotion you're trying to impact, a surprise is going to make it It's a very powerful tool, especially when you think about what we do as event marketers, as event planners, as experience creators. When we think about using surprises, that is why we get out of bed, right? And if you're in this industry, if you've chosen this profession, I have to believe that you're not only bought into this, you've become obsessed with it. You've fallen in love with it like I have. But the irony is that in today's day and age, as I look at the global ecosystem of events, many of what we call special events aren't really that special anymore, right? And it could be for a lot of reasons. I'm not blaming anybody. It could be because you're tied up in the minutia of the event, or you've got so many events you can't focus on this one, or maybe you just don't feel like you have enough budget or enough resources to really execute on a surprising moment. It could be all of these things. But what I want to do is I want to recommit us. I want to remind us why we got into this. It's to get people to feel that expression that I saw when I was standing backstage. It is to make people stop in their tracks and to forget the future and the past and think about where they are in that moment. And when we do that, we can do some very powerful things. We can get them to remember more. We can get them to feel more. We can get them to build deeper relationships. And so in some of the following episodes, we're going to talk about not just why surprises are so powerful. We're going to talk about how we can set, meet, and then beat expectations with every single action that we do. We're going to talk about how we're going to use surprise before, during, and after the event. And I believe that after a couple more conversations about this, you're gonna buy in like I have to the power of surprise, and you're going to recommit like I have to surprise. Okay. Thanks for listening in. I'm really excited to talk more about surprises in future episodes. And if you have any ideas or any comments on this, please leave them in the comments section. I'll talk to you next time. Craving more event content? If so, subscribe below and you can check out more episodes of Run Up Show Weekly.